What's going on, everybody? Another edition of Young Hustlers here right on the Cardone Zone. This is Jared Glant here, President, Cardone Enterprises. And every week on Thursday at noon East Coast Standard Time, we bring you data, we bring you content, we bring you strategies on how you can make more money. Money's an important thing. It ain't everything, but it sure does solve a lot of problems, give you a lot of choices, make life a little bit easier. And you can do some cool stuff with it. You know, we were just talking with Alan. He's like, yo, man, I'm going to buy some jet skis. You need money to buy jet skis, right? You need money to pay rent. My wife's trying to, we're trying to move. We got to move our house that we're renting, right? She wants to get a nicer house. What does that require? Money. So the game is how to figure out how to control how much money you make, right? So I want to talk today about the thing that will allow you to create infinite amounts of money. It's sales, right? That's what we're here. This is a sales show. But there's some things that you need to understand if you want to be successful in sales and great, like to get great. These are actually really simple things, but most people miss on all three of them. They don't even do one great. They don't even do one average. In most cases, they do none of them. And they wonder why they're not making any money. So I want to do a show today on how to get great at sales, okay? This is, I want to start by saying two things. This is super important. If you want to make more money in sales, then you must understand this one thing, this one concept. There are only two ways as a salesperson to make more money. There's only two. Okay? Super basic principle of sales. There's only two ways you can make more money as a salesperson. Number one, activity, or number two, improvement or skill. So this is a really important concept to understand because you actually have control over how much money you make in sales. And you don't even have to get better at what you do to make more money. You just have to take more action. This is the simplest way to increase your income in sales. Is just make more calls, knock on more doors, send more proposals, do more demos, make more follow-up calls. Like, this is the easiest way. 99% of people have the ability, the access, and the wherewithal to be able to increase their activity. 10 more calls a day will make a positive impact on your paycheck over the course of a year, probably. 50 more calls a day, you're probably going to start seeing a monthly impact. And if you can add 100 calls a day to what you're doing right now, then every single day you're going to be seeing more impact. So the more activity you take, the closer the result ends up coming. So let's say, for example, you're making completely stone cold calls. You make 100 calls a day and you convert 2 of those people to appointments, right? So that is a statistic that is for every 100 calls you make 2 appointments, okay? If you increase 100 calls to 110 calls, you're probably not going to see an added appointment, right? In fact, until you get to 150 calls added, based on the numbers, you're not going to see that third appointment. So the more activity you take, the closer you pull the result to being experienced that day, okay? The second way to improve your income, to increase your income, to make more money, is to just simply get better. Because at some point, you can't make more calls, right? You reach a point where, like, I can physically not talk more than 8 hours a day. That gives me 15 minutes for lunch. That gives me 12 minutes throughout the day for 2 pee breaks. That means that I'm coming in at 7 o'clock in the morning and I'm staying till 7 o'clock at night because I got some planning and some organization activities that I have to do when I'm done calling, whatever the case may be. Like you reach a point where like you can't physically take more activity. So then the only lever that you have to pull then at that point is just you have to develop more skill. You have to make more impact on the calls that you have. Want to improve your money incrementally, exponentially, you want to double up, do both. Improvement of skill takes longer than making more calls. So I wanted to go over this because this is really important for you to understand. You are in control of both of these. The skill development piece takes a little bit longer. Activity is something that you can start banging on today. Super important. You're in control of this. You can do this one right here. You can do the activity piece. You can get started on that today. But just know that you have to be able to increase your activity to levels where you can pull the result forward so that you can start experiencing some of the positive impact of that. So that is kind of the preface for this whole call, because you can make more money in sales without being a genius if you just simply work more. And I know that sounds simple, but if it's simple, you should be doing it already. So how to get great at sales. Number one, there's 3 things I'm going to cover. Number one, you must know your numbers. You've got to know this. If you don't know your numbers, you're going to be completely blind. If you don't know your numbers, you're constantly going to be in mystery. If you don't know your numbers, you're constantly going to be wondering how to improve things, how to get better at something, and you're going to have zero control over it. It's going to be disappointing. You're probably going to lose confidence. You're probably going to lose motivation. And at some point, you will run out of purpose to fuel, because numbers tell you everything. Like you need to know how many calls you make in a day. You need to know how many leads you get in a day. You need to know your conversion on leads to appointments, to demos, to deals. You need to know, like, the numbers tell you everything. Numbers don't lie. Because most salespeople, like they do this. Like they're up and down on a roller coaster. We're probably emotionally unstable to some degree. That's how we're able to turn on this crazy personality on a phone call and then go somewhere else immediately after the call, like become some completely different person. Like the great salespeople are always just a little all over the place. But the numbers are the thing that you have at the foundation and the core that will tell you everything you need to know about how to actually make more money. They tell you the story about where you need to put your time and attention. Minimum, it will give you certainty. Like the amount of confidence. Maybe this is the same for you, but this is how it is for me. If you tell me, hey, go clean up the garage with a broom, and you don't tell me how big the garage is, you don't tell me how dirty it is, you don't tell me how long it takes the average person to clean the garage. Like, if you give me no data, my confidence and certainty is really low, right? And then what happens is I start coming up with my own expectations of something that I don't even understand because there's no data behind it, right? And then when I get in there, I see this massive freaking garage, dust piled that thick. They gave me a little kitchen broom rather than a push broom. And then I start getting overwhelmed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever, right? Like there's all these things start happening because expectations aren't in line with what I actually encounter. The flip side of that is, hey, look, we're going to give you this kitchen broom. We're going to put you in a warehouse. It's pretty dirty. The dust is about that thick. It's going to take you 2.5 days to get it done. Going in, I have so much more confidence and certainty because the expectations are in line, like they're in place. I believe most people operate better when they have full transparency. I believe most people operate with more confidence when they know exactly how many times they have to swing the axe to get the tree to fall down. It eliminates the mystery. Right? Like there's a lot of things that go on in your head when you're selling. When's the customer, Is this the call that's going to work? Is this the call that's going to be my commission? Is this the customer that's going to say yes? Did they like it? Did they not like it? Like, there's so many things that you start going around and around in your head that create uncertainty, and they create you to lose confidence. You don't sell anything for 4 or 5 or 6 days. Everybody else is selling stuff. Then you're looking around going, dude, why am I even here? I suck at this. Even though last month you were the #1 salesperson, now you're coming around. It's halfway through the month. You haven't sold anything yet. And now you get all these freaking ideas going around in your head, right? And you become more emotional rather than logical, okay? Numbers are important because it allows you to make logic-based decisions about the thing that you do every day. So you track how many calls you make. You track your conversion rates. You track how many leads you have. You track your sales cycle. How long does your average sales cycle take? Like, when you know all these things, it gives you a lot of confidence. Then, once you know these baseline numbers, you can actually play with what I showed you on the previous screen, which is the activity. You can start turning that dial. So if you do all these if you track all these numbers for 30 days and you get down to the point where you're like, for every 1,340 calls, I get a deal. If you work all the math out and you figure out closing rates and all that stuff, you get down to this point. For every 1,300 calls, I get one deal. This would be a really important number to know, would you agree? Because this number holds the key to getting a deal. Now, if I go, okay, I'm going to figure out a way to either #1, because what we talked about in the beginning is how do I make more calls? So increase the number of calls. Or #2, I'm going to try to figure out how to get this done in 1,000 calls. That way I don't have to make any more phone calls. I just have to get better on the call by 30%. And now 1,000 calls gets me a deal rather than 1,300, which means that if I make, 4 deals under old math means I got to make 5,200 calls. And 4 deals under the new math means I only have to make 4,000 calls. So that same 5,000 calls gets me 5 deals. It gets me an extra deal. So my point is showing you all that, and hopefully that wasn't too confusing. My point of showing you all that is the numbers are the most important thing for you because they give you clarity and confidence on everything that you have to do when you show up every day, and you can actually back into how do I make more money. If you're making 80 grand and you want to get to 100 grand, if you're making 100 grand and you want to get to 200 grand, it will be contained through activity or skill development. But at the root of it, you have to know your numbers, #1. #2, most important thing, is you have to have targets. See, once I know the numbers, now I can start backing into targets. So now I can set the target out there and go, I need to make 300 calls today. It's better to show up every day knowing exactly how many calls you need to make to hit your money target than showing up and not having a target and not knowing how many calls. Would you agree? It gives you that stake in the ground to say, hey, I've got some confidence in this. This is the thing that I'm showing up and doing today. So you need to figure out what your daily targets are, your weekly targets, and your monthly targets. Activity targets, deal targets, appointment targets, demo targets, lead targets, referral targets, contract value targets, contract term targets. Like, you need to come up with targets for everything that you do because it gives you something that's real to chase. No targets, no focus. No targets, no push. No targets, no urgency. And then you need to keep yourself accountable to these targets. At the end of the day, if you have daily targets, you're like, hey, I was supposed to make 300 calls. How many did I make? I made 200. Ooh, man, I was off by 100. What happened? See, the target gives me something to hold myself accountable to, so at the end of the day, I can go, did I get closer to my goal today or not? So I was off by 100 calls because I did 6 demos today, and I wasn't able to go hammer time like I normally do. But instead of doing 2 demos, which was my target, I did 6 demos. Okay, so now the numbers are starting to tell me a story. Targets are important. You cannot operate without targets. You have to have income targets. You have to have exercise targets. Like you literally, targets in your life give you something to actually reach for and hold yourself accountable to. If there's no targets, there can't be any accountability. And I think you all agree that accountability is probably a good thing, right? It's a good thing because it's the thing that creates the doingness of a goal or a target or an action. It's like the accountability is, did you do it or not? And if you did do it, did you fall short? If you didn't do it, why did you not do it? Right? Like it gives you the ability to actually like start saying, I'm going to do something. You know, we were at the 10X Growth Conference and I met a lot of people. $5 million, $10 million, $15 million, $25 million businesses. And, you know, the thing that, this is the biggest secret of success. Because the people are not, like people, like no matter how big of a company that somebody's built, and people, you know, have built some massive companies and they certainly are geniuses. I'm not a genius. I'm not a super smart guy. The thing that I see consistently is not some complicated way of thinking or strategy. It's not some, you know, it's not some knowledge that they got from going to some school. It's not some handout they got from somebody. It's not this connection or proximity to somebody who's powerful and inspiring and motivated. Like what it all boils down to from so many people that I've met, whether it's Kevin Hart on stage or whether it's people in our mastermind group or it's people that I've known over the last 10 years that I work for Grant, the one thing that every single person who's built something big has is they have discipline. And not like crazy military discipline. It's just like, hey, the right thing to do is this, I'm gonna do it. That's it. Like, if you can get that part right, you can build a multi-million-dollar business. And I know because I see people all the time who I talk to, I'm like, wow, I can't believe you've built this amazing business because you're not that impressive. I know that sounds terrible, but like I think we get it in our heads that like you have to be some savant or some superstar to build something. Dude, you just have to show up with a good product. It doesn't even have to be unique. Like you don't even have to be like, we're the only people in the space to buy this from, or I've got some new idea for some new business that nobody's ever done before and it's gonna change the game for everything. Dude, if you just like, you could go start a lawn care company. There's thousands of people that do lawn care. If you said, I'm gonna start a lawn care company and you had a great attitude, you provided a good service to people, and all you did was do the things you were supposed to do, like, you know, I need to market my business, do it. I need to run ads for my business. I need to figure the ad thing out, do it. I need to hire a salesperson, do it. I need to hire a lead lawn engineer, do it. Like, the doingness is the thing that differentiates the multi-million-dollar business owners from the employee who's stuck making $70,000 a year. I meet people all the time that I'm like, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, $120,000 a year, and I'm like, dude, why aren't you doing something more than you're doing right now? Like, why aren't you doing something bigger? Like, you're talented, like, you know, like, what is out for you? It's the most bizarre thing in the world, and it sounds so simple and stupid, but it's as simple as literally somebody going, this is the next thing that you need to do, and just getting it done. That, in my mind, my perspective, from the 10X Growth Conference, 12,000 people, massively successful celebrities, entrepreneurs, business owners, and a lot of 10Xers, like, that is the thing they all have in common. You need to show up to this company, and you need to go knock on the door and just say, hey, my name's Jared. I sell this and I want to know if you guys are interested. Like, that's what you have to do. And then they do that. That is the thing. That is the differentiator. Total tangent. But an observation that I felt worthy of sharing. Okay. So, how to get great at sales. Number one, you got to know your numbers. Numbers tell you everything. Numbers aren't emotional. Numbers don't lie. Number two, you got to have targets every day so you can show up and lean into something. And at the end of the day, you have a measurement to keep yourself accountable to go, am I getting closer to the money that I want or not? And then number three, cannot get away from this. If you want to be great, you got to train. You got to consume content. Podcasts, your mic is hot over there. Podcasts like this are great for content, but this isn't training. Like, this is information. Probably a little bit more training in this than most because we're a training company. That's just what we do. Like Cardone University, for example. Cardone University is a platform that was built so people could come in, they could get 3-minute segments of training, very focused, no additional noise. It's the same thing, the same way every time. That's an important component of something to be considered training, is it has to have the element of consistency in it. This pen is going to be the same today as it is tomorrow. It's consistent. This jet right here is not going to change overnight. Like, there's something stable. See, information is what I'm delivering right now. I couldn't come and deliver this same exact show tomorrow. Probably get close, but there's some things that I'm just going to miss. If Steve Spray from my team had to come in here and I just said, hey, talk to him about how to get great at sales, he would probably come up with something different than this. So you have to have, for training to be effective, it has to be consistent, right? So you have to look at, how can I get a book, even a book like this book right here. It's the same book every time you read it, right? It has the element of consistency, because consistency leads to duplication and the ability to repeat something or replicate it. So you got to have that element in place. It needs to be something that's accessible, something that you can get when you need it. Like these are all the reasons why we built Cardone University. Like when we were selling CDs, we were selling DVD programs. That was what I sold. I sold $10,000 DVD sets when I first started working for Grant. When we transitioned into this online thing, we were thinking, okay, what does training need to have to be effective? It needs to be consistent. In today's day and age, we believed that it needed to be video rather than text. It needed to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that people, if they did want to train, they actually could get it when they wanted it. They didn't have to go to a manager or something like that. So we put this idea of hey, if we want to have a solid training product, what does it need to be? We came up with Cardone University. Cardone University is a program that will change your game. It changed my game. I got 26 salespeople in the back. They train on it every single day. That is what trains them. Grant does not train them. I do not train them. Todd does not train them. Cardone University trains them. These are guys, in some cases, didn't go to college. They're making middle six figures back here. They're freaking crushing it. 3, 4, 5, 600,000 bucks a year, because we teach them skills and we help them, we force them to increase their activity. And when you do both those things, you get overpaid. Force skill development, force more activity, they get overpaid, meaning they're going to make more than they would without us forcing those things on them. And that's how we grow our team here. So Cardone University is an insane program. We charge, I think it's $14.97 a month right now. Anybody who wants to get signed up on this freaking call right now, this meeting, this podcast, in the next, I don't know, we'll call it a 24-hour expiration. Now, let's do 4-hour expiration. In the next 4 hours, email Natalie at grantcardone.com. We'll get you signed up for $99 a month. Don't publish this anywhere else. You got to email Natalie at grantcardone.com, $99 a month. The second you cancel that and you stop paying for it, you'll never get access to that price again. We're going to jack the price up. I'm going to try to charge you more if I can, because it's a stupid deal. It's a stupid deal. It will change your game. I want you on it because I want the success story. Let's go to some callers, Nat. Who do we got?
All right, you've got Christian in Ohio.
Christian, what's up?
Hey, Jerry.
Hey!
Hey, this is Christian Riemann from Cincinnati,
What's going on?
and I'm at the Pack Leader on Instagram. For anybody that wanted to follow me.
Love it.
But man, my question is, I'm currently in a job that isn't sales. It's appliance delivery, and I always listen to what you and Grant say about sales. Should I just throw myself into a sales job?
Yep.
Just what should I look for when I go into the sales?
It doesn't even matter in the beginning. You just got to get on the field.
Okay, so even just like Macy's or some type of
I
retail
mean, you got to find something where you're getting paid commission. You got to find something that's the transaction volume, like, and again, this is getting started, right? Like when you get started in sales, you want something that's you're going to learn, right? And you want something where you get paid commission. Commission should be 80% of your compensation. Don't get hung up on a salary. It's a trap.
Okay.
Something where there's a lot of volume of transactions. That way you get to talk to a lot of different people. You can actually like work out your pitch when you're talking to a lot of different people. And then the third qualifier is just going to be selling something that has a bit of margin in it, like the prices. It's big enough to where you're actually going to be able to make some money, so that you're making, $100, $200, $500 a sale. And that's why we talk about cars. You could sell hearing aids. You could sell spas. You could sell, some things door to door, some products door to door. Some companies have some comp plans where they'll pay you 50% commission. You go in and sell a $300 product, vacuum cleaner or something like that at the door for $500. They pay you $250 or something like that. So volume of transactions, gross profit, and get something that where commission is 80 to 90% of your comp.
Gotcha. Last thing, man, what somebody who's never been in sales and doesn't have that on their resume, should I be saying something to the company, or there's something I should do to make
the first thing that you need to do
help?
right now, the first thing you need to do right now before you hang up is when Natalie gets back on the phone, you need to sign up for Cardone University for $99 a month, and you need to start training like a freaking maniac on that thing.
Okay.
You don't need to have sales experience. To get started in sales, you don't need experience.
Okay.
You don't need regardless of what anybody says, you don't need any experience. You go through Cardone University, you start going through 25 minutes of training every single day. You start consuming that every single day. When you walk in and you talk to a sales manager, they're going to know something's different about you. Sales managers are constantly looking for salespeople. They're in a restaurant and they have a great experience with a waiter or a bartender. They go to the grocery store and there's somebody to qualify at the minimum level for sales, you have to be willing, you have to have a good attitude. If you have those two things, your skill doesn't matter. They can teach you.
All right, man.
Okay?
Well, I thank you so much.
My man, I appreciate you. All right, next caller, who we got?
You've got Julio, New Orleans.
Julio!
Hey, Jared, how you doing?
What's up, bro?
Good. Here in New Orleans, Louisiana.
My man in Louisiana.
Yes. So I have actually a few questions. I'm going to put them all together and just I'd love to get your feedback, your expertise on the approach, and maybe tweak some things, or just share with your thoughts of what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I'm in network marketing, direct sales, right? And I call leads, opportunity seekers, right? I put them in a dialer. I put 1,000 leads in my dialer. The dialer, whoever answers the phone, they get to hear me. And basically, I just reach out to them, let them know that they filled out a form on my website. Were they serious about that, or were they just kidding around? And if they basically are open, then I send them to a capture page. So that's the first question. Would you send a person a capture page of a video of yourself, just doing a quick introduction, or would you send them directly to your opportunity, to the company information?
A capture page?
Yes.
And what is that? Is that it's like a video presentation?
It's just a video. It's a 2-minute introduction of myself, just saying, hey, this is who I am. I've been in the home fields arena for the last few years, fill out the form down below if you're seriously considering to get some more information.
What's the
Because
product
I
that
have
what product are you selling?
It's a cruise club. It's a cruise club membership.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could bypass the whole, hey, here's who I am. I think that's a waste of time. I don't think people care who you are. I think they hit on interest in an opportunity, and you need to give them as much information as possible in the shortest period of time so that they can decide if they can say yes to it or not.
Perfect. So get rid of the capture pages, send them directly to the website so they
Yeah,
can
dude, what if somebody watches 30 seconds of your video, they're like, I don't like you, man. I don't like you, and they hang up. They don't even know what you're doing at that point. They just know they don't like you.
Correct.
Has nothing to do with you. It's about the product. They hit the link because they're interested in what you're doing, not you.
So, and let me bounce this idea off of you. The logic behind that is because for many years I would have, send the information. Yeah, Julio, I'm serious about it. Send me the information. Perfect. Send you the information. Let's lock you in on the appointment so I can follow up with you and see if we're going to move forward or not. And when I actually follow up with them, they haven't seen anything, or they say they have, and I don't know if that's true or not. Based on the questions that I asked them, they sound like they haven't even watched it.
Yeah, dude, look. Here's what you need to do. Yeah, here's what you need to do. Somebody submits a lead that they're interested. You call the lead on the dialer, you get them on the phone, and you pitch them the deal. Like, this is a one-call situation. This isn't a follow-up, rewind, repeat. Like, you should be able to take somebody from interest to a lead to a phone call to a quick pitch. Are you interested or not? That should be the flow here. Anything else is an added step that's going to create friction in the process and give them an opportunity to bounce out. One more caller. Who we got?
We got Joe in Miami.
Joe from Miami. What's going on?
What's good, Jared? I got 3 questions for you, man.
Okay.
So just going to the first thing you were talking about knowing numbers. So I feel like a lot of managers, a lot of owners may have a lot of the data, and sometimes for whatever reason those people don't share the data. Maybe it's because they don't know what data needs to be shared, and they don't really understand that their salesmen need the data to.
Any sales manager that won't share basic performance numbers that you have is a fucking idiot.
Gotcha. But here's the question. The question is, what data would you be asking for? Like, I know you were talking about it earlier, but more specifically, I think what I would want to know is for an insurance sales role. Like, what data should I be looking for that I need to keep track of myself?
How many leads are you getting? Or are you are you self-sourcing all your leads? Because you want to know 2 things. You want to know when you get a lead, how many leads do you need to get in order to get a deal? In another bucket, if you're self-sourcing leads or making cold calls, you need to know how many cold calls you need to make until you get a deal. So you have two different groups that you're working. And then you also need to know, hey, when I get referrals, how many referrals do I need to call in order to get a deal?
Would you split your day up to those different things? Like, would you have, if you were managing a sales team of insurance, would you have incoming calls throughout the entire day, or would you split it up? And
incoming calls and leads are always going to be priority. Somebody calling into your business is drop everything and take that call. Like, that person is literally the ripest fruit on the tree. You should be able to blow on them and they're going to fall off.
What if that person that is coming into the agency is a telemarketed call? Like, one of the issues that we deal with is that many of the people that we're talking to are not qualified enough, either for the product or because they're not as interested in talking about it. Because
well, that's your job. Your job's to create the interest. They were interested enough to pick up the phone and call you. Like, I don't know about you, but I ain't calling nobody until I'm interested. Like, interested in the point where I'm like, sell me something. Like, I don't talk to anybody. I do everything by email, by text message. I try to keep as much distance as possible. I go on Amazon. I don't call the seller. I go on Amazon, I look, and I buy. When I make the decision that I want something, I go on Amazon and I buy it when I'm on there. I don't think about it. I don't wait. I don't call somebody. So the fact that somebody's calling your business is a high level expression of interest, and that needs to be the hottest lead you possibly have. If
You're talking about people calling in already with interest. What I'm referring to would be a person who's telemarketed, like a hot lead, a hot transfer by another company.
Yeah. Like somebody called them. Yeah. So that would be like layer 2, you know? Like
right. Would you split it up and do like those type of calls for a certain part of the day and do outgoing calls another part of the day?
Yeah, the people tell you, the best time of the day to call is in the morning and in the late afternoon, but the best time of the day to call is all day. So if you guys have some process that's, like, dude, I'm making cold calls, and then a phone call inbound comes into the office, I'm stopping cold calls and I'm taking the hot customer. I'm going to go back to banging cold calls out. If a telemarketer from the team says, hey, Recco, I got a hot one, they throw one over, I'm going to stop my cold calls, I'm going to take that call. I'm going to go back to pounding the phones. Like you need to be able to move like that, because you're not going to have an unlimited supply of inbound calls, and you're not going to have an unlimited supply of hot transfers from telemarketers. And so when you're not on one of those calls, you need to be banging the phones.
So you're saying run it all day, but know how to bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question for you on number 2, on setting targets. I kind of asked you about this a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, but when's like a time that you're able to get into that zone to plan out your targets? Last time I asked, you said definitely start from the end of the equation and work your way backwards, which I love that. But when are you able to do that? Who do you talk to that inspires you that are able to do that? Is it a book you read? Is it a video you watch, a podcast you hear? Like, what are your things that inspire you to set those targets so that you can start paying attention to the numbers and start putting in the action and activity and all that?
You can't look to anywhere else but yourself to get the answer to that question. Like when we talked about goals and targets and ideal scene, when you talk about ideal scene, that is your ideal scene, and you need to figure out at 65 years old what you want your life to look like. This isn't a book, this isn't a system or process or a course you can buy. This is, dude, what do I want my life to look like when I'm 65? And then you just need to go list everything out that you want, assign a dollar amount about what that lifestyle is going to cost you to live, and then if that number's $25 million, then you need to start going, okay, hey, so I need to go backwards in time to 36 years old. And in order for me in the next 30 years to have $25 million, I need to try to pack away $1 million a year. Now, based on how people earn money, that probably is a target you're going to be missing for the first few years, right? Because what's going to end up happening is it's going to look like this, right? Like if that's today and this is 65, this is what your earnings going to look like, right? It's going to ramp up to where you're picking up most of the ground in the last 10 years. You can't figure the math out on that. That's why it's easier for me just to go, hey, I need to add $1 million a year. So if I'm packing away $500K a year in investments, then I'm like, okay, next year I got to do 1.5. And then I do 500 again, and then the next year I got to do 2.0 this year. But then a real estate deal sells and I get a big pop and I get my $1 million. Now I just need to pick up the 1.5 again, or whatever the math works out to be. So it's just a matter of you figuring out what you want, how much it's going to cost, and then how many calls and how much stuff you need to sell today to move closer to the target.
So my question a little further is, what's the advice on, I guess, what were you doing the first 5-10 times you did the math here? The first 5-10 times you said, how did you get into that zone of saying, what's my life going to look like at 65?
Dude, you got to figure out what you want to do. Like, are you happy right now with where you're at financially?
No, sir.
No, of course not. Most of us aren't. So then it's like, okay, well, would I be happy if I had 50 grand in the bank? No, because I know enough about money to know that ain't going to change my life. What about if I had $1 million? Nope, that ain't going to change my life that much either. So, like, then you have to go completely internal, and you have to start figuring out what's going to make you happy. Like, I want to be happy every day. I want to know that the work I'm doing is getting me closer to something, and I'm not just showing up and wasting a day somewhere other than with my family. I want to know that where I'm investing my time is moving me closer to something that I'm really excited about having. So there's no catalyst to this other than you just saying, I'm not happy where I'm at. I want to make more money. I want to have choice in my life. And although I can't get it today, what I can do is I can show up every day and do things that are going to get me closer to where I want to go and where I want to be. And you can start playing the game, you know? So
Right.
you just need to go, what do I want? What's it going to cost me? The hardest thing to do is to figure out what to do today. Like, people start the wrong place. They start, man, if I could do anything, what do I want? What would I do? Shit, I don't know. There's a lot of options there. The easier thing for me is to say, well, where would I like to be in the future? And then work my way back. And then that way I can make a decision about money today and where to go to make more money, than try to figure out some profession that I'm going to end up doing that I may not even know it, what it is, or, may not even be an opportunity that's on my plate right now today. I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding your question.
Yeah, what I'm pinpointing is trying to figure out how, like, you're starting from a place where you're already thinking big. For the average person out there, and Grant writes this obviously a lot in the 10X rule, you got to think big. But for someone who, only has the 50,000 or even less, doesn't have any money in the bank, to understand what life really looks like with $1 million or 10 million or 30 million in the bank or more, most people don't even think that far.
The purpose of the exercise of you figuring out what you want is to help you put into perspective how much you need. Like if I think that I need 25 million, it's because I've gone through the math and I know everything that I want is going to require me to make $2 million a year. And I don't want to work to make the 2 million. So what do I need to do? At 25 million, if I'm making 7% on my money, I'm making $2 million a year. So now I've funded the things that I want. And maybe this number, you're just like, hey man, I want to own a $500,000 house in Wichita, Kansas, which would probably be a freaking mansion there. I want to have 2 cars that, I have a $249 a month payment on. Like, dude, maybe your number is 800,000. I don't know. That 800,000, if that's working and creating income for you, and it's at 6%, then that's going to be like 50 grand a year. Maybe 50 grand a year is enough for you to live this life that you want. And shit, maybe you're 25 right now and you're like, man, I could get to 800 grand by 35 and then live the life that I want when I'm 35 rather than 65. But you're not going to know what that is until you go through this and you're like, wow, that's exciting. When you get it right, you'll get excited. That's the purpose of that whole exercise. It's to figure out, like, what do you really want over here? Because if you're like, I want to have a G550 when I'm 60 years old, you're like, hey, dude, I need $3 million a year just to cover expenses for the jet. So you need to be making, $1 million a month. And then you're like, well, shit, if I need to make $1 million a month and I need to have $3 million a year for all this, and I'm 25 right now, I need to really quickly get to $6 million a year in income. And you're sitting at home right now making 45 grand a year, and you're like, wow, that's a huge gap. Maybe I don't want a G550. That is the way to figure out how important that thing is. Because if that G550 is that important to you, you're going to be like, I'm at 45,000. I need to get to 6 million. I need to do some work. And then your creativity is going to go through the roof because you're like, more than anything else in the world, I want to have that jet. So, like, you'll know that you're on the right track when what you come up in your ideal life, when that gets you excited, you've hit it. So, dude, I hope that helped. No matter what you want, you got to get great at what you do today in order to get there. You got to make more calls. You got to get better at what you do. You got to know your numbers. You got to have targets, and you got to train every single day. $99 a month for Cardone U, only for the next 3 hours or so. Email Natalie at grantcardone.com. She'll sign you up. She's already got 50 or 60 people that she signed up. So don't wait on this because it's not going to be available anywhere else. It won't be on the website. You're not going to get an ad or an email about it. It's something I'm just doing because I'm feeling freaking crazy today because it's Young Hustlers every Thursday, noon East Coast Standard Time. We come right back here, same time, same place on the Cardone Zone. Remember, the only people that give up on the hustle and condemn the hustle are the ones who have given up and quit themselves. We'll see you next week.